when automotive engineers from Detroit first heard about a snake that could diagnose car problems with 99.7% accuracy. They assumed it was just another internet hoax. But after witnessing Serpiente, the ball python, correctly identify 17 different mechanical failures that computer diagnostics had missed, they realized they were looking at the future of automotive repair. What this remarkable snake sensed in failing engines would revolutionize how we detect car problems and prove that nature's diagnostic abilities far exceed anything humans have invented. The story began 12 years earlier when Carlos Mendez, a master mechanic with over 2 decades of experience, found an abandoned ball python in a customer's garage. The snake, barely 2 feet long and severely malnourished, had apparently been left behind when the previous owner moved away. Most people would have called animal control, but Carlos had always felt a connection to misunderstood creatures. Nobody wanted him, Carlos would later tell automotive industry magazines. He was just sitting there in an old terrarium, looking like he hadn't eaten in weeks. Something about those intelligent eyes made me think he deserved a second chance. Carlos had named the snake Serpiente, simply snake in Spanish, and had set up a proper habitat in a quiet corner of his auto repair shop. What began as an act of compassion had quickly evolved into something far more extraordinary. Within weeks of Serpiente's arrival at the shop, Carlos had noticed unusual behavior whenever certain cars were brought in for service. The python would become agitated around vehicles with hidden problems, positioning himself near specific areas that would later reveal mechanical failures. At first, I thought it was just coincidence, Carlos had explained to Dr. Rebecca Torres, a veterinary biologist who would later study Serpiente's abilities. But after a few months, I started paying attention to which cars made him nervous. Every single time, we'd find problems that our diagnostic computers had missed. The pattern had become impossible to ignore. Serpiente would coil near engines that were developing internal damage, rest against transmissions that were about to fail, and avoid cars with brake system issues. His accuracy was remarkable. Over 12 years, the python's predictions had proven correct in over 99% of cases. Word of the diagnostic snake had spread slowly through the automotive community. Mechanics in the area began referring difficult cases to Carlos, curious to see if Serpiente could detect problems that traditional methods couldn't find. Insurance adjusters started requesting that questionable damage claims be evaluated by the guy with the snake. But it wasn't until a video of Serpiente correctly diagnosing a complex transmission problem went viral that the automotive industry's elite took notice. The video showed the python methodically examining a luxury sedan that multiple dealership service departments had declared mechanically sound. Within minutes, Serpiente had identified the exact location of an internal transmission failure that wouldn't become apparent to human mechanics for another 3 weeks. Dr. Margaret Kim, a biomechanical engineer from the University of Michigan, had been the first scientist to take Serpiente's abilities seriously. What we're seeing challenges everything we understand about diagnostic technology, she had said after spending a week observing the snake at work. This animal is detecting mechanical problems using sensory capabilities that we're only beginning to understand. The scientific validation had begun with controlled experiments. Dr. Kim and her team had brought vehicles with known problems to Carlos's shop, without telling him or anyone else what those problems were. Serpiente had correctly identified the issues in 17 out of 17 test cases, while the shop's state-of-the-art diagnostic computers had missed 6 of the problems entirely. The implications are staggering, Dr. Kim had reported to the Society of Automotive Engineers. We're looking at a biological diagnostic system that surpasses our most advanced technology. If we can understand how Serpiente detects these problems, we might be able to develop entirely new approaches to automotive diagnosis. The research team that descended on Mendez Auto Repair represented some of the brightest minds in automotive engineering, biomechanics, and sensory biology. Led by Dr. Kim, the group included specialists from General Motors, Ford, Toyota's North American Research Division, and several universities with automotive engineering programs. Their goal was ambitious: to understand exactly how a ball python could outperform millions of dollars worth of diagnostic equipment, and to determine whether Serpiente's abilities could be replicated or enhanced through technology. We're essentially reverse engineering a biological diagnostic system, explained Dr. James Rodriguez, a sensory biologist from Stanford University. Snakes have evolved extraordinary capabilities for detecting vibrations, temperature changes, and chemical signatures. If Serpiente is using these abilities to identify mechanical problems, we need to understand the mechanisms involved. The research had revealed that Serpiente's diagnostic abilities operated on multiple sensory levels simultaneously. The python's heat-sensing organs could detect temperature variations as small as 0.01 degrees Celsius, allowing him to identify friction and inefficiency in mechanical systems long before they became apparent to other detection methods. Internal engine problems create heat signatures that are invisible to thermal cameras but perfectly clear to Serpiente. Dr. Rodriguez had noted, his biological heat sensors are more sensitive than anything we've developed technologically, but temperature detection was only part of the story. Serpiente's ability to sense vibrations through his body was equally remarkable. The python could detect microscopic mechanical vibrations that indicated bearing wear, gear damage, and structural fatigue in automotive systems. He's essentially using his entire body as a seismograph, explained Dr. Sarah Chang, a mechanical engineer from MIT. Every mechanical problem creates a unique vibration signature, and Serpiente has learned to recognize patterns that correlate with specific types of failures. Perhaps most remarkably, research had shown that Serpiente could detect chemical changes associated with automotive problems. Failing brake fluid, deteriorating transmission oil, and coolant contamination all produced chemical signatures that the python's extraordinary sense of smell could identify. Snakes have chemoreceptor capabilities that far exceed human senses. Dr. Torres had explained. Serpiente can literally smell mechanical problems developing, sometimes weeks before they become critical. The research team had spent months documenting Serpiente's diagnostic process. They had installed sensors throughout Carlos's shop to measure temperature, vibration, and chemical changes, hoping to correlate the snake's behavior with measurable environmental factors. What they had discovered had challenged fundamental assumptions about diagnostic technology. Serpiente wasn't just detecting individual problems, he was performing complex system analysis, evaluating the relationships between different automotive components, and predicting how problems in one system might affect others. This is predictive diagnostics at a level we've never seen before, Dr. Kim had marveled. Serpiente doesn't just identify current problems, he predicts future failures based on subtle changes in system behavior. It's like having a crystal ball for automotive repair. The automotive industry had taken notice. Representatives from major manufacturers had visited Carlos's shop, hoping to understand how biological diagnostic capabilities might be integrated. with traditional automotive service. We're looking at a paradigm shift in how we approach automotive diagnostics, said Thomas Wright, Director of Advanced Engineering at Ford Motor Company. If we can develop technology that mimics even a fraction of this snake's capabilities, we could revolutionize predictive maintenance and prevent countless breakdowns before they occur. The breakthrough that would change the automotive industry forever came during a routine research session when Serpiente detected a problem that would have proven catastrophic if left undiagnosed. A customer had brought in a nearly new luxury SUV for what seemed like a minor oil change, but the Python had immediately shown signs of extreme agitation around the vehicle. "I'd never seen Serpiente react that strongly to any car," Carlos had told the research team. "He was practically climbing the walls to get away from that SUV. I knew we had to take a serious look at it." The inspection that followed had revealed a manufacturing defect so subtle that it had escaped detection during the vehicle's production quality control checks. A critical engine component had been improperly machined, creating microscopic stress fractures that would have led to complete engine failure within days. If that engine had failed while the family was driving on the highway, it could have been fatal, Dr. Chang had realized. Serpiente didn't just detect a mechanical problem, he prevented a potential tragedy. The incident had convinced the automotive industry that Serpiente's abilities represented more than just an interesting curiosity. Major manufacturers had begun developing research partnerships with Carlos's shop, hoping to incorporate biological diagnostic principles into their service protocols. Toyota had been the first to implement what they called bio-inspired diagnostic systems at their service centers, using sensors designed to mimic Serpiente's heat detection capabilities. They had achieved a 40% improvement in early problem identification. General Motors had taken a different approach, developing vibration analysis systems based on research into how Serpiente detected mechanical stress patterns. Their predictive maintenance protocols had reduced warranty claims by 25% within the first year of implementation. But perhaps the most significant development had been Ford's decision to establish a permanent research facility adjacent to Carlos's shop. The Biological Systems Laboratory was dedicated to studying Serpiente's diagnostic methods and developing technology that could replicate his extraordinary capabilities. "We're not trying to replace traditional diagnostics," explained Dr. Lisa Martinez, Ford's Director of Biological Systems Research. "We're trying to enhance them by incorporating sensory capabilities that evolution has perfected over millions of years." The partnership between Carlos, Serpiente, and the automotive industry had produced remarkable results. Service departments using bio-inspired diagnostic protocols had achieved accuracy rates approaching Serpiente's legendary 99.7% success rate. Insurance companies had begun offering premium discounts for vehicles serviced using enhanced diagnostic protocols, recognizing the reduced risk of catastrophic failures. Consumer satisfaction ratings for automotive service had improved dramatically as mechanics became able to identify and prevent problems before they left customers stranded. What Serpiente taught us is that biological systems have already solved many of the problems we're trying to address with technology, Dr. Kim had concluded after 5 years of research. By learning from nature, we can develop diagnostic capabilities that surpass anything we previously thought possible. The scientific papers published based on Serpiente's abilities had influenced research far beyond the automotive industry. Medical diagnostic equipment, industrial quality control systems, and even aerospace engineering had begun incorporating bio-inspired sensor technologies. Despite the international attention and scientific acclaim, the heart of Serpiente's story remained the extraordinary partnership he had developed with Carlos Mendez. The bond between the master mechanic and his Python had deepened over 12 years of working together, creating a level of communication and trust that amazed everyone who witnessed it. Carlos and Serpiente have developed their own language. Dr. Torres had observed during one of her research visits, the snake's body language tells Carlos exactly what type of problem he's detecting. And Carlos has learned to interpret those signals with remarkable accuracy. The communication system they had developed was subtle but comprehensive. Serpiente's positioning around a vehicle indicated the general location of problems. His level of agitation suggested the severity of issues. His movement patterns provided clues about whether problems were immediate concerns or developing slowly over time. It's like having a conversation without words. Carlos had explained to automotive students who visited his shop to learn about biodiagnostic techniques. After 12 years together, I can tell you exactly what Serpiente is thinking just by watching how he moves around a car. The partnership had been tested countless times over the years, but never more dramatically than during the incident that had cemented Serpiente's reputation as the most reliable diagnostic tool in the automotive industry. A desperate customer had brought in a race car that had been experiencing intermittent performance problems for months. Multiple racing teams' mechanics had examined the vehicle using the most advanced diagnostic equipment available, but no one had been able to identify the source of the problems. This car represents $1 million investment, the customer had explained to Carlos. If we can't figure out what's wrong, our entire racing season is over. Serpiente had spent less than 10 minutes examining the race car before positioning himself near a specific section of the engine bay. His behavior had indicated a serious problem, but one that was developing slowly and wouldn't be immediately apparent to traditional diagnostic methods. Carlos had trusted his partner's assessment completely, conducting a detailed inspection of the area Serpiente had identified. What he had found was a manufacturing defect so subtle that it would have been invisible to even the most sophisticated scanning equipment, but which would have caused catastrophic engine failure during the high-stress conditions of competitive racing. Serpiente saved us from disaster, the customer had said after the problem was corrected and the car went on to win 3 consecutive races. That snake didn't just find a mechanical problem, he saved our entire operation. Stories like these had spread throughout the automotive community, establishing Serpiente as a legend whose abilities transcended normal understanding of animal intelligence. But for Carlos, the most meaningful aspect of their partnership was simpler and more profound. Serpiente isn't just my diagnostic tool, Carlos would tell visitors. He's my partner, my friend, and my teacher. He's shown me that intelligence comes in forms we don't always recognize, and that the best solutions often come from the most unexpected sources. The Python seemed to understand his special status, carrying himself with the dignity of a professional who took his responsibilities seriously. He would arrive at the shop each morning with Carlos, position himself in his designated area, and spend the day methodically examining vehicles with the focus and dedication of a master craftsman. He knows he's helping people, Carlos had observed, when we prevent a breakdown or identify a safety issue. Serpiente seems satisfied in a way that goes beyond just doing his job. He understands that his work protects families and keeps people safe. 12 years after Carlos Mendez rescued an abandoned ball python from a customer's garage, Serpiente had become the most famous snake in automotive history. His diagnostic abilities had revolutionized an entire industry, influenced scientific research across multiple disciplines, and saved countless lives through early detection of potentially catastrophic mechanical problems. The Serpiente protocol had been adopted by automotive service centers across 6 countries, establishing standardized procedures for incorporating bio-inspired diagnostic methods into traditional automotive service. Mechanics trained in biological diagnostic techniques had achieved unprecedented accuracy rates in problem identification and predictive maintenance. What started as one mechanic's kindness to an abandoned animal has transformed into a global revolution in automotive diagnostics, Dr. Kim had concluded in her final research report. Serpiente has proven that the most advanced technology sometimes comes from understanding and partnering with natural systems that have been perfected over millions of years of evolution. The automotive industry's investment in bio-inspired diagnostic technology had exceeded $500 million, leading to new sensor technologies, predictive maintenance protocols, and safety systems that had prevented thousands of accidents and breakdowns. Universities had established degree programs in biological automotive systems, teaching students to work with animal partners and bio-inspired technologies. The field had attracted brilliant minds from biology, engineering, and automotive design, creating a new generation of professionals who understood the value of cross-species collaboration. Insurance companies had documented a 60% reduction in catastrophic automotive failures among vehicles serviced using Serpiente-inspired diagnostic protocols. The economic impact had been enormous, with billions of dollars saved in prevented breakdowns, avoided accidents, and improved reliability. But perhaps the most significant impact had been on how humans understood intelligence, partnership, and the value of listening to warnings that come from unexpected sources. Serpiente had proven that consciousness, wisdom, and diagnostic abilities transcended species boundaries. Serpiente has taught us that intelligence exists in forms we're only beginning to understand, Dr. Rodriguez had reflected. His partnership with Carlos represents the future of human-animal collaboration, not just in automotive repair, but in every field where different forms of intelligence can complement each other. As Serpiente entered his 15th year of life, he remained active and engaged in his diagnostic work. Though Carlos had begun training a younger python to eventually take over some of his responsibilities, the succession planning had been complex, involving both biological research and automotive industry coordination. Serpiente isn't just my partner, Carlos had said during a recent interview. He's my mentor, my teacher, and my friend. He's shown me that the most sophisticated technology isn't always electronic or digital. Sometimes it's biological. And sometimes it comes with scales and an ancient wisdom that we're privileged to learn from. The story of Carlos Mendez and Serpiente had become more than just a tale of unusual partnership. It had become a symbol of the possibilities that emerge when humans are willing to listen to intelligence that comes in unexpected forms, to trust abilities that can't be fully explained, and to build relationships based on mutual respect rather than dominance. In automotive service centers around the world, mechanics continued to learn from the principles that Serpiente had demonstrated. That the best diagnostic work requires patience, sensitivity, and the willingness to detect problems before they become obvious. His legacy lived on in every early problem detection, every prevented breakdown, and every life saved through predictive maintenance. The partnership between a master mechanic and his python had proven that the most revolutionary advances often come from the most unlikely sources. And that sometimes, the most sophisticated diagnostic equipment comes with a heartbeat, ancient instincts, and an unshakable commitment to protecting those who depend on mechanical systems to keep them safe. Serpiente's story continued to inspire researchers, mechanics, and anyone who believed in the power of cross-species collaboration to solve complex problems and create a safer, more reliable world for everyone who depended on the intricate mechanical systems that power modern life.